Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of our $100 million producer panel, me and Andrew Cady, and welcome back. It's been a week already, and boy, these days fly by. So what do you got for us today, Andrew?
Oh, man. Just another day in paradise. Yeah, these weeks seem to come and go. I think doing a show like this every Friday only highlights how fast the week goes because it's just like boom, Friday again, boom, Friday again. And honestly, like if you're complacent right now and you're just letting these weeks fly by as they seem that they are without actually being intentional in your daily activities, you're going to find yourself at the end of spring buyer's market pretty quickly without a lot of fruit to show for it. So I guess we're talking about that topic today.
Yeah, absolutely, because it is. I mean, for most of the country, it is now heading into the spring and summer buyer's market. Andrew and I are both in very warm weather states, so our buyer's market really never stops or ends, except for maybe during the Christmas holiday. So, but again, if hopefully you guys have already started working on your marketing for the spring and already kind of started working your realtors. But if you haven't, today's the day to get out there and get started. You know, you got to get out there. You got to meet these agents. You got to constantly be trying to add new referral partners, no matter how many you have, because just natural attrition is going to happen, and you're going to have an agent retire or something, move to another state. So, always, the old ABC, always be closing, will always be prospecting, always be setting up new referral agents. You have to do that. And I know Andrew's been really good at it, so I'll kind of let him kind of start with what he does.
I've always had the mentality that if you're not moving forward, you are moving backwards. Like there is no stopping in this business, and you're dead right. Like, you're going to lose agents. We know in the mortgage world, we're only as good as our last transaction. You can close 50 deals perfect, and you mess one up, and nobody bats 1,000. Stuff happens sometimes. You could lose a referral partner. Referral partner could retire. There's a million things that could happen. And the moment you stop prospecting is the moment you start backsliding, and your business will regress a lot faster than it grows. You think, well, it took me 5 years to grow to 40 million, 100 million. It'll take me 5 years to get back to zero. No, it'll take you about 6 months. The moment you stop selling, it just pretty much falls off the map. So for me, like, this is the time to get out there. Open houses, get to open houses, get face-to-face with agents. Build the open house survival kits. They're so cheesy, but man, you'd be surprised. Go into an open house with an open house survival kit and get a little nerdy with it. Like I always did, like, five tips for surviving your open house. And it was like, here's a can or a Red Bull in case you have too many people show up. Here's a Fireball mini in case nobody shows up. And I had all these little quirky, corny things. Here's a bottle of hand sanitizer for that one buyer that we all know walks through the property. And you just have like this corny survival kit. And man, you're going to get tagged on Facebook in that. And then all of a sudden other people are going to want it. And then you're having people DM you like, hey, here's my open house. Do a drop by. Let's do a live video together. Open houses is, to me, one of the best ways to get face-to-face with real estate agents and bypass that whole, I have an in-house lender, I've already got a lender, because a lot of lenders, even if they're partnered with that realtor, won't go to the open house.
Yeah. And again, a few days ago, I did a Facebook post about, a few days ago, Anthony did a Facebook post about to win. And I thought, I usually don't piggyback on anything he says, but I was like, that struck me as something that I've always felt. So I went on and did a Facebook video. Some of you may have seen it, but it was really about, so many loan officers fail to prospect constantly with new realtors because they hate the rejection. I mean, nobody loves to be rejected. I mean, nobody. I mean, go back to your high school days of asking a girl out and being rejected. It sucks. I mean, nobody likes that, So same thing with realtors. I mean, you call a realtor, you get rejected, but guess what? The greatest thing about our business, I'm going to say this again, even though I said it the other day, was I don't know of very many things you can do in life where you can have a 95% fail rate and be considered very successful. And what I mean by that is if you call on 20 realtors, but only one of them actually will consider sending you business in the future and And, you're like, wow, 19 of these agents blew me off or gave me lip service or just hung up on me. That's discouraging. It's very discouraging. 19 out of 20. But you know what? If you get 1 out of 20, 5%, so a 95% fail rate, you just have to do that once a month. After a year's time, you've got 12 agents that are now sending you some business of some sort. And maybe a few of those are like send you a lot of business. And next thing you know, you do that this year, you do it next year, you do it the year after. Within 3 years, those 12 agents turn into 36 to 40 agents. And that turns into 200 to 250 loans a year, which puts you into top producer status pretty quickly.
It
And
100% does. And you're dead right. This is why I've always said, real estate versus mortgage. Mortgage is a much harder build of business, but it's so much more sustainable, because if you get those 12 real estate agents this year and you do a good job, you're a good loan officer, you put together clean files, you're responsive, January 1st of next year, you still have 12 real estate agents sending you referrals. And then you can add 12 more. Whereas real estate, if you sell 12 homes this year, there's a very high probability that those 12 buyers are not going to buy again next year.
Yeah.
And so you're out on the hunt to get referrals of those buyers, and then utilize, go to another strategy with it. Let's say you have 8 real estate agents, or let's say 12, because we're using the number 12. You got 12 real estate agents that you're working with and have been working with. You have a good reputation with them. Go out to lunch, and don't turn it into a selling lunch. Go out to lunch and talk about family, talk about life, but use one selling proposition. When you're done with that lunch, say, hey, if I could ask one thing out of you, would you consider doing it for me? Make them give you the answer yes, because you just had a great conversation. They're all going to say yes to you. Say, I'd like to get a warm introduction to another agent in your office that you think would mesh well with me. Just shoot them a joint text message. You would be so surprised. Now, if you call that realtor and try that same thing, very rarely going to happen. But if you take time out of your day, treat them to a nice lunch. Don't use it as a selling proposition, but go in there and enjoy the lunch with them. Hang out, have fun, have conversation, talk about their family, their dog, anything that interests them. Heck, if they're into politics, talk politics. I don't care. But when you're done with it, hey, if I asked a favor out of you, would you consider doing it for me? Make them say yes. And when they say yes, say, shoot me a warm introduction to another agent in your office. And man, all of a sudden you get Johnny, who's in the office, who has a great reputation, that closes a bunch of business, says, hey, you got to talk to my lender. Now you've got a warm introduction from another real estate agent. Whole different world right there.
It absolutely is. And again, that's a big part of how I built out my, I get referrals from all over, but one of my biggest referral partners that a lot of people know is Redfin. And that became the first agent liked me enough that she told the next agent in the office. And then they're a little different. They meet every Tuesday, or they used to meet every Tuesday. It's probably changed now, but they used to meet every Tuesday in their office for a big sales rally, every Tuesday. And slowly but surely, over the first year doing business with that first agent, my name started getting passed around on Tuesdays, because the agents would get together and talk about their pain points and this and that. And it became, hey, this guy will answer if you call him on Sunday night. This guy will answer if you call him on Friday night, and again, I didn't even have to ask for it. They were passing my name around. But what you're saying is even better, because you're just saying, hey, please introduce me one more agent. And then that one more can introduce you later on to another one. And it's just like a domino effect, one agent after another. But again, it goes back to not being afraid of rejection and reaching out to these agents and actually putting the work in. You got to put the work in.
And the whole rejection game, nobody likes rejection. Anybody that tells you I love being rejected, they're full of it. Rejection sucks. It just does. But get it out of your head and go back to averages. And it's the same thing I've talked about on here before, about knowing your number of credit pulls it takes to get a closing. Know your closing ratio to credit pulls. Because if you get 10 credit pulls in a row that all have horrible credit, it's discouraging. Well, if you get rejected 12 times in a row by a real estate agent, and you know that you average 1 out of 5, you know that averages don't lie. Like, whatever that number is, figure out how many meetings it takes to get one referral partner on board. And that just takes all of that anxiety of a rejection and throws it out the window, because you're like, oh, Susie, she's one of the 18. I wonder if Charlie's going to be one of the 18. Yeah, Charlie sure as heck was too. And eventually the numbers just come in. When you go in expecting this is going to be one of the 18 before the 19th is the one that gives me business, you don't have that fear of rejection. You just know that it might be one of the 18. It's just how it's going to be. So begin to know your numbers. Track this stuff. How many meetings do you take? I'd venture to say that 99% of loan officers could not tell me how many real estate agents they spoke with in the last 30 days, met with in the last 30 days, how many credit pulls they did in the last 30 days, how many loans are in their pipeline, and how many closings they've done in the last 30 days. And I'm telling you right now, I could tell you every one of those stats off the cuff, because this is a business to me. This isn't a hobby. So treat it like a business, know your numbers, and operate within your numbers.
Yeah. I mean, that's key, because again, if you don't set out your plan, you're never going to follow. There's nothing to follow. So you're going to get caught out in the weeds. You're going to be distracted. And you're, like you said, you have to know your numbers. You have to know how many agents I have to talk to get one, how many customers I've talked to get one, how many credit pulls, just like what you just went through. I mean, I can't stress enough. I mean, it's not rocket science, but it takes planning and it takes hard work.
It does. It's sales 101. You go to any sales academy. If you signed up for Cardone University, they're going to teach you those exact same things. Know your numbers is key number one. Yet loan officers everywhere just seem like they're throwing mud at the wall and hoping it sticks. I used to have this phrase in my previous company, before the mortgage industry. It's called spraying and praying. You just go out there and you just spray seeds all over the ground. You're just throwing stuff and you're like, just praying it grows. It's just like, no, be intentional, be systematic about what you do. Do you think it's easy for Anthony Casa to put out the content he's doing? I mean, I've seen this guy's calendar, probably averages 18 to 22 appointments a day. But no, it's consistency that wins every single time.
Yeah. And this is where coaching comes in. I mean, here at UMortgage, we have a coaching program internally that we use, and I can't say enough about it. And it's funny, I've talked to a few loan officers that were kind of wishy-washy if they were going to do it or not. And those are the loan officers that they're coming back to me saying, "Oh, I'm so glad I did it." And it's not like Sam's our main coach. It's not that Sam is coming up with, he's not reinventing the wheel, but he's laying out a plan. He's holding them accountable to that plan. And they're all being successful. Most of them are being successful. And the ones that aren't being super successful are the same ones that Sam calls me and says, "Hey, loan officer X, he's sort of doing the work, but he's always got excuses for not doing the work." And then I'm on the phone calling loan officer X saying, "Hey, it's a privilege to be in this coaching program. We have a wait list for our coaching program internally. So either do the work or I'm going to remove you and put somebody else in there." But again, it's just following the plan and holding yourself accountable. In this case, Sam's holding him accountable, hopefully so that someday when they say, "Okay, I'm going to get out of the coaching program because now I'm holding myself accountable."
Agreed.
And I can't say enough about that.
Some people can't hold themselves accountable. Like some people, it's just not that they just don't do it. And that's, I don't know whether it's a character flaw or what it is, but that's, what, if that's you and you don't hold yourself accountable, at least recognize the fact that that's you, and find another group of guys, girls, whatever it is that are in a similar situation to you. Hop in a Facebook Messenger chat, and every evening at 6 p.m. or whatever time the end of day is, post your numbers of what you did for the day in the chat. Have an accountability group. Do something to create accountability, because there are just people that don't hold themselves accountable, and they're in so much denial about it that they can't, kind of wishy-washy. At least just own it and say, "No, I'm not one of those guys." Like I know me, like fitness, for me in fitness, if I don't have a gym partner, I will not go to the gym. I just won't do it. And it's just how it is. It's like a cold plunge. I can spend all the money to put a cold plunge in my backyard with all the greatest intentions, but unless someone is showing up at my house to cold plunge with me at 6 a.m., I am not getting in that thing. And so recognize it. Like, I recognize if I don't have someone to go to the gym with, I'm not going to the gym. If you're not going to hold yourself accountable to your goals, find someone that's a close friend, partner that will jump in and hold each other accountable.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's just it. And I don't want people to think that, nobody's perfect with it. Like Andrew said, he doesn't hold himself accountable for a gym. I am obviously somebody that doesn't do that. I got a Peloton treadmill sitting back in our extra bedroom. And I've been on that thing a grand total of, for 5 minutes, the first day we have when they demonstrated to me a year ago. My wife uses it. We bought it for me. And you know what? It mostly gets used by my one cat who likes to sleep on it for some reason. So, and it's in my house. I have to walk 30 feet behind me, and I can be on that thing at any time of day or night. But you know what? I found out that home gym equipment's horrible for most people like me, because who's here to hold me accountable? It's a home gym. Right. I need a personal trainer that says you either show up or I'm still taking your money. And then I show up. I got to get back to that personally.
Yeah. And you may hold yourself to the utmost account in business, but you don't hold it in fitness. I know guys in the mortgage industry that are in the gym 7 days a week. Yeah. They have 1% body fat, but they don't make any realtor calls during the week. So they hold themselves accountable in one area of their life, but not the other. This isn't like we're sitting here dogging you for being that. I'm right there with you. I'm just on the opposite spectrum. Like, no gym partner, I don't go to the gym. It's not happening. I did the same thing. Bought a Peloton. I sold it 2 years later with 12 rides on it. I average one ride every 60 days. Yeah. It's just not what I hold myself accountable for. But in business, I don't need that accountability partner. So if you're the person that needs it, go find one. Find someone to team up with that you can just start sharing each other's passions and fire each other up and hold each other accountable. Like, create the high profit activities tracker, something I've always done well with. I know it's got different names, but I would assign a point scale. And I wouldn't leave my office at the end of the day until I had 25 points on the board. And 25 was a tough number to obtain. I held my loan officers to getting 15, and that was a tough number to hit. But I would not leave the office without 25 every day I walked in that office. Create something with accountability, because you're going to find yourself, what is the old phrase? 12 months from now, you're going to wish you would have started today.
Yep. And that's true. And I've had a few people say, well, I don't need a coach. I'm sorry. I was a great producer when I was doing loans, and I could go back to it tomorrow and be a great producer. But even I could benefit from a coach. I mean, 100%. All of us can. And I always use the analogy of how, of those 6 championships Michael Jordan won, arguably the greatest player to ever play the game. All you younger guys that think it's LeBron, you don't know. You didn't see Michael in his prime. But he would not have won any championships without Phil Jackson as a coach. I mean, he needed a good coach to bring the team together to make it work.
Yeah. How many championships in any sport have ever been won where there wasn't a coach? Like just take any football team. Do you think that the Patriots would have won a single Super Bowl if there was no coach on the sideline? No coaches. Just boys go out there and figure it out. Like, even when I wasn't being coached, crushing $100 million a year, if I would have been coached, I may have done 200. How much did I leave on the table? How many ideas did I not pick up because I didn't think that I needed coaching? So coaching's for everyone. Accountability really is what's for everyone.
You broke up there for a minute, but yeah, no, I missed some of that because you froze up on your screen. But they same thing with me. As much as I did personally, had I had a coach and had I not been so bullheaded to not want to hire an LOA or any help, I could have probably been doing 200, because I was literally giving business away. I was passing off all the FHA, all the VA. I was passing off most of my refis because I didn't have the capacity to do it as a one-man operation. So I was passing it off to others. When realistically, had I had a coach, he would have said, what's wrong with you? Hire an LOA, hire 2 LOAs, and instead of doing 25 to 30 loans a month, go out there and do 60 loans a month, but instead, because I didn't have a coach, because I was too full of myself at the time, I left a ton of money on the table, and instead of $100 million producer panel, we'd be talking about $200 million producer panel. So,
yeah, if we wouldn't have been so bullheaded. So if you get
yeah,
anything out of today's episode, it's even guys that do big numbers, we got to remain humble enough to own up to the fact that we didn't do everything right. We got to where we were by just sheer grit and determination. Imagine if we could have turned that sheer grit and determination into something a little more powerful. Go read Tim Grover's book, Relentless, on that man's ability to coach some of the greats in basketball. Would Kobe have been Kobe without Tim Grover around him? Would Jordan have been Jordan without Tim around him? It's a debatable topic of whether they would have ever come into the greatness that they were without someone to really mentally coach them through it.
Yeah, absolutely. They would have been great players, but they wouldn't have been at the pinnacle level that they became, I don't think, because he just took them. And it's just like our core values here at U. I mean, we talk about getting better every day. We talk about, it's not one of our core values, but we're really big on plus wanting, just doing it and then adding one more little bit of just something extra every single day, over and above what you should do, just a plus one. And I think that's probably what Grover pulled out of Kobe and Jordan. It's just he probably pulled that plus one out every so often that made them go from great to icons. Just I don't know if you've seen it. I went and saw the movie Air over the last weekend, and and I gotta tell you, even if you hate basketball, my wife doesn't care anything about basketball. She loved the movie because it really shows you what grit and determination and thinking outside the box did for Nike. I mean, the movie's not even about Jordan. I mean, he's a central role in it, but it's about the guys at Nike thinking outside the box. And most people don't remember this because they're either too young or they just don't remember. But in '84, Nike was like the laughing stock of the shoe industry. They were for guys that ran. Nobody that played sports other than long distance runners wore Nikes. And and if you go see the movie, you'll see what I'm talking about. But it shows these guys came up with different ways to get in front of Jordan's family, basically, and his agent, and it's no different than what we're talking about here, using different means to just thinking outside the box, find a way to get the realtors, find a way to connect with them. You don't have to be the greatest loan officer in the world. You just have to be the most determined one.
Yeah. And I don't know if I brought it up on here before or not, but it's a stat I bring up often because to me, when someone told me the stat, it just blew my mind that Babe Ruth is known as the all-time great, the home run king. And that's what his legacy is. And he held the home run record, if memory serves me correct, for 19 years as the home run record holder. But he also held a second record at the same time. For 17 of the 19 years, he held the strikeout record, and he was finally dethroned in strikeouts by Mickey Mantle.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't necessarily that he was that much more of a precision hitter. He swung the bat that many more times. It's like when Kobe Bryant, you hear that story of him talking about getting up. He's the most basketball players get up at 10. And then they work out at 11, and then they work out again, they rest, and then they work out again at 2. And he said, I get up at 4, and I work out at 5. I rest, I work out at 8. I rest, I work out at 11. I rest, I work out at 2. I rest, I work out at 4. And he said, so most basketball players are working out twice a day, and I'm doing it 5 times a day. And he said, if I do that for 5 years of my life, I will have gained so far ahead of them that they could work out 10 times a day for the rest of their career and never catch me. That is what we're talking about when we say, now's the time to get out there. If you think calling 20 realtors is a lot, call 40.
Yeah.
Call 80. Is it humanly possible? You bet it is. You bet it is to set it up. If you shut your life out for 3 hours of your day and you had a printed list of phone numbers to dial, you could dial 60 in 3 hours. Don't tell me it's not possible because I've done it.
Yeah.
So if you want to be the great, act like the great. Go out and triple it. Whatever your goal is today, just triple it tomorrow. See if it can be done. Prove it once to yourself that you can do it.
Yeah. And let's go back to like what you were saying with Babe Ruth. I mean, everybody remembers him as the home run king, not as the strikeout king. And the only people they remember as a strikeout king are the ones that never hit the home runs. And you know, so if you're out there winning and you call 40, 50, 60 realtors a week, a day, or whatever, if you put up huge numbers because you worked your butt off to get those realtors, nobody cares about how many times you were rejected. Nobody cares about how many realtors hung up on you. Nobody cares about how many of you screamed an expletive and hung up on you. You know, none of that matters. And you know what? The ones that were rude to you that hung up on you, you know, after a year or two later, when you're making 600, 800, a million, $1 million, $2 million, $1 million, $3 a year, remember who hung up on you and then go back and look at their MMI data. And then you'll get a nice big, you'll look back and you'll get a chuckle. You'll be like, oh yeah, you know, I'm the guy that, you know, is making big money, and that realtor closed 4 loans last year or 4 transactions last year, you know, so
exactly.
Don't let it bother you. Who cares? It's a voice on the other end of the phone anyway. I mean,
you're dead right. And people put too much stock into caring what people think about them. I mean, Gary Vaynerchuk says it absolutely the best. He said, we spend our days working in jobs we hate to buy things we don't need to impress people we don't like. So get the priority rate that find that why. My why is to set up a future generational wealth for my kids. I don't care about driving a fancy car. I don't care about any of that. I'm going to live a comfortable life. I want to set up generational wealth for my family. I'm not doing this for the flashy car, the flashy ring. If that's what your why is, by all means, make it what it's about and go after it.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't have said it better. I mean, that's what it's all about, 100%. And again, just just get out there and do the job. I mean, I no excuses. You know, don't beat yourself up. No excuses. Set your goals and look at that goal and set a lofty goal, and just know you can hit that if you put the work in. And
Correct.
Focus, put the work in, and look at that goal, and don't get discouraged, because guess what? You might have a terrible 3 weeks of calling, and then all of a sudden things will come together. It happens in groups all the time. I swear everything happens in groups in this business, you know, or plan a vacation. You'll get really busy, because that's the natural thing of things that happen in this business. So
yeah, I always said people waited on the street corner to put their applications in. You know, they'd line up 30 deep and then hit them all at once. No, but you're dead right. You know, I think we're closing in on time on this. I think we changed the end of Todd's famous line of answer your damn phone. And we changed it this time to pick up your damn phone. If it's not ringing, if it's ringing, pick it up. If it's not ringing, pick it up and start dialing. Pick it up no matter what. Pick your phone up and dial. Pick it up when it rings, pick it up and dial.
Yeah. And in honor of the movie I saw, Air, just do it. I mean, what a great slogan Nike has. Just do it. I mean, honestly, what better slogan than that, than to wrap up this day, is go out there and just do it. And by the way, remember, it's Friday. So what are you going to do? You're going to pick up your phone and not only cold call some new realtors, but you're also going to reach out to all your current realtors and say, hey, it's Friday. I work when you work. I'm available this Saturday. I'm available this Sunday. Or maybe, hey, Sunday from 2 to 5, I've got plans with my son or daughter or wife, you know, but let them know what your availability is over this weekend. And I preach this every single Friday, because those realtors appreciate that. They want to know that you're available, and they want to know when you're not available. So again, it's Friday. Just do it.
Just do it. Peace out, guys.
See you guys.